What we've realized is that everybody has said, yes, we know the studies. In fact, there's tons of them out there. You know what? This study that says that women and racialized leaders will increase your profits, will increase your revenue, will increase your customers, all of that. The latest study I read, I think, was back in 2016, a study that looked at 20,000 different companies in 91 countries and found that companies with more female executives that at the very top level were more profitable. Time and time this happens. Yet we still see female executives standing still. We still see Black executives in leadership positions standing still, and in some cases, retreating. Despite the evidence that this is good for business, we are still caught up in this bias. And this bias is homogeneous teams are easier to manage and lead. We don't want diversity in our teams because it's harder. And you're like, no, 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 that's not true. We all know that's not true. We don't have that bias and we don't think we are. I'm going to talk to you today without wagging my finger at you, without being an angry Black man standing on a pulpit. I just want to share with you my experiences as a Black man navigating in a white man's world, my experiences as a designated hire, and my failings in that process. And most importantly, my experiences as an ally of all people who have helped me and have showed me how to navigate the process, whether it was through my retention and persistence in predominantly white institutions, or whether it was my experiences failing and lending a hand up for either myself or my father. When I talk about homogeneous teams are easier, I want you to think about this. I want to share with you a story that I first read about this experience. There's a study in Harvard that talked about frats and sororities. And as you know, fraternities and sororities are very, we'll say, tight. They got secret handshakes, they got secret rituals, they got secret nods. They all look and act alike. I wasn't a part of a fraternity, but I know that they exist out there and there's nothing bad about them. That's not what I'm saying. Well, a scientist took a look at fraternities and sororities and they said, let's examine how these groups work. And they said, you know what? We're going to ask you, member of the fraternity or sorority, we want you to play this game. We call it Clue, murder mystery. All right. And they would play it and it's like, okay. And then after the game, they would say, how easy was it? Oh, really easy. Who do you think it was that did that? Oh, Professor Plum with the ratchet. For sure it was him. Or the lady, the gardener with the hoe. Yes. How confident? Very confident. Okay. You only have 20 minutes. Are you sure? Yes, we're done. And they would be done in 16 minutes, 17 minutes, 18 minutes. They would rate their scores. Yes, I feel good. Yeah, absolutely confident. Okay. Then they would come back and they would bring them in a group of three members for the same frat, three members from the same sorority, and they would ask them to do the same thing. Work through this problem. You've just done it by yourself. Let's do it together. I said, okay, let's do it together. 5 minutes into doing it, they would get an additional member added to their team. That additional member was either from the same frat or from a different frat, from the same sorority or a different sorority. And then they would go through and they would work on the problem again and still they come back at the end of the 20 minutes. And who was it? Okay, it was the gardener. Yes, with the whole, I agree. No, it was a librarian with the candelabra. Okay, yes. And then they would be asked the same questions in their groups of 4. And as you can imagine, what do you think would happen? Well, the groups that had the same people of your frat or sorority that said, yeah, it was easy. Yeah, we felt really good. It went smooth. How confident are you? Really confident of our answers. Okay, all right. And the group that didn't have the same 4 players, meaning 3 members from the same fraternity, but somebody from the extra fraternity, from a different fraternity, somebody they didn't know, how was it? Really rough. How smooth? Oh, that wasn't smooth. How confident are you about your answers? I'm not sure. We're not very confident. Do you think you got it right? No. What we found was the fraternities who had all the same members, although they thought it was easier and smoother and it took less time, they didn't get the answer right as often. In fact, the fraternity or sorority that had the member that was added from them later on from a different group, they were twice as likely to get the right answer in solving the murder mystery. But it was interesting that even though they were twice as likely to get the right answer, they always reported less confidence in their answer. They always reported greater conflict and less smoothness and cohesion in the answer. What happens is that we bring this bias to the table when we don't look alike, we don't talk alike, we don't sound alike, we don't act alike, that we think that there's going to be disruption and problems and challenges in how we solve problems going forward. In my field, the field of psychology, we call this the fluency heuristic, meaning people don't want disruption. They want to go with the flow. Going with the flow is my name for the fluency heuristic because it's too hard to pronounce that other word. And you have to be mindful of it when you're putting together your teams, when you're out in the process looking to try and create these diversity goals that you might have out there. People don't recognize it's like, well, no, no, that's not true. That's not true. I'm not like that. Homogeneous teams, you might think, feel easier, and they might be, but they're not as productive, they're not as effective. Diverse teams work precisely because they are more difficult. They challenge the status quo and they get you to the right answer. It's true, diversity can increase conflict, but here's the key, not as much as you think. And you have to get out of your way in order to not make sure the conflict is greater than you're thinking.